Our problem is that position in an entry is an integer, so we can add 1 to it. We can increment it. We already changed this to a string, but it was a 0 before. It has something to do with positioning the cursor, because the cursor has to be repositioned programmatically in this autofill for a variety of reasons that I don't really remember exactly. So the problem is, this is a string, this is an integer, so this is like 1.0, 1.1, something like that, line, point, character. So let's find out what self-position actually does. This is where we define self.pos, and this works even though I didn't change it, which means that the method exists in the text class, not just in the entry class. Hopefully it works similarly so we can do something with it. So we're going to print the results. This is going to say, where is the insertion cursor? Well, let's look in the documentation itself. So it's index with an insert for a parameter. Here it is. For an index I, the method returns the equivalent position in the form line character, and we're using insert, which refers to the position of the insertion. You could also get the position of the mouse if you want, but we don't need that. If you run this, type something, you're going to get an error, but you also get your thing printed out. So the position is 1.0, line 1, character 0, right? Okay, now we got an error, but let's look down here and see what prints next. There it is, line 1, position 1. Type another one. See, it's not melting down the computer, so we can go ahead and play with this, see what happens here. We're getting the correct information. We're just not able to increment it and move it along to the next position. Line 1, position 2, 0, 1, 2, character 2. We gotta convert 1.0, 1.1, whatever, convert it into 2 integers, because that's really what it represents, and that's what Tkinter, no doubt, is doing somewhere behind the scenes, and then increment it. Oh, look. There's a little problem there. We haven't done anything with the get, because get, that's for an entry. When it looks like that. Get with no parameters, that was for an entry. So we're going to start at the beginning and get all the way to the end. I don't know what to do here exactly with the lines, because I'm not used to that. An autofill with multiple lines. It sounds a little bit impossible. So let's tear that string apart. Let's say it's 1.0. We're going to get line, column, you could say, equals POS dot split. We're splitting on the dot. Don't need the dot. POS, what I'm looking for here. I'll keep all my original stuff. Rename this, call it COL, and we're going to temporarily call that an integer so we can increment it. Cursor is going to be an integer. Now here's the next problem that might pop up. I could not find any sign of an iCursor method in the text widget. There's one in the spin box, there's one in the entry, there's one here and there, there's one in the canvas. I think that's all. This is probably going to be our next error. What this does is it inserts the cursor at a certain place. Okay, so we're looking for a way to insert a cursor at a certain place. Alright, let's look for the next error, see what it's going to be. Slice indices must be integers or none. They're talking about this. They're talking about slicing a string. So, okay, the problem here is self.pos is no longer an integer. Same problem. Oh my goodness, you're kidding. No error? Huh. So let's type an M, see what happens. A. Oh, well, there might be hope. It's not autofilling, but don't see an error. We got occupation. So self.post being used someplace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, they're all right here. You can see them all. All the self.posts are right here. It seems like we might be having some success. Now it looks to me like, well, got is M, right? Well, this is a text widget, and text widgets, they add line breaks and stuff. I can't say how, when, or why, but they do. So well, let's type another character and see what happens. You see, there's a line break in here, and they didn't tell us, except by doing this. There is a line break. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this autofill actually work by replacing the line break with nothing, empty string. We're going to get a match because we're going to strip off that line break. And watch what happens. This is almost magical. Type an M. There you go. Did you see that? Filled right in, didn't it? Okay. What else do we have? Occupation. Oh my goodness, look at that. Now we got marriage. Whoops. See, now we got an error down here. The cursor positioning thing is not working. I wanted to type an A and then RRI. I wanted to type marriage bands basically. And this is supposed to reposition after what I just typed so that I can just do that. I can type through the marriage and type a space and type a B, and then marriage bands will fill in. But it didn't work because it didn't reposition the cursor. And this is, once again, that's self.position is our little teeny tiny problem. But it looks like there might be hope. I still have no idea what to do about multiple lines on an autofill. It doesn't sound like much fun. Cell autofill. This repositioning didn't work. Oh, it has no attribute iCursor. How do you position a cursor? I looked for that in the manual. How do you position a cursor in a text widget? What we need to do now is after you type an M, what this does is it programmatically moves the cursor back. See, because you just autofilled the word marriage. What if that isn't the word you want? You want marriage bands. So it moves the cursor back after the M, so you can just keep typing if you want to. I'm curious though, what happened if I did keep typing? Now, what if I type a space and a B? Oh my goodness, look at that. This is going to be interesting to see how this turns out. Well, this looks promising. Move forward and characters. Move backwards and characters. Now that's interesting. I assume we're talking about moving the cursor. I didn't find this before because I was searching for the word cursor and I didn't find anything but position between E and F. So the position of the insertion cursor, and we're using it like this. You've seen that in the code. These are widget indices, text widget indices, and index is a general method specifying a position in the content. Oh, I think I found something here. So you can specify, are you talking about the position of the insertion cursor, or are you talking about the position of the mouse pointer? We can play around with this a little bit if you don't mind. So you go +5 characters refers to the position, blah, blah, blah. You have this because we already know what this means. 1.0 is line 1, character 0. But then you go 5 characters or 5C, either way. I've seen this before. So in order to use this, what do we have to do? Count the, and guess what? This operation will cross line boundaries. Now that is interesting. It goes back characters and it don't care about what line you're on. It just goes back a certain number of characters. Oh my, we may be in luck. I have to figure out how to test this. I need to play with it first. Okay, now the number of characters is not ideal for what we're trying to do, and we don't want to mess with lines at all. We want to try and ignore lines and just count characters. But there's three more things that we can use. One is line start move to the position before the first character of the given index. We're doing like this. There's the index plus line start, or the index plus line end, or word start. Okay, line start moves to the position before the first character of the given index. For example, position current line start refers to the position of the mouse pointer. We would say insert. Okay, position current line start refers to the beginning of the line closest to the mouse pointer. So we're talking about the insertion cursor. We say insert line start. We're not looking for the end, and we're not looking for a word really. We're looking for the very first character in the thingamajigger. So what we have to do is go to the front and then count forward from there, maybe, depending on how many characters we've typed. So we'd have to keep track of how many characters we typed. Does that make any sense? Well, the way to do this is to try it, see what happens. Preferably in a tiny little test. That's what we're going to do. We're going to learn how to use this and try to apply it to the autofill. We'll do that in the next movie. All right, see you next time.